can continue to commandeer the money from the middle classes of this country, of the taxpayers, at exactly the same time they're being told they have to sacrifice and subject themselves to all kinds of austerity and pain. They can commandeer this money to feed the insatiable beast that is endless militarism, even without even pretending that there's a real justification. It too is a self-perpetuating complex. And then the third factor that I think explains the common dynamic that I described, this paradox, in all of these countries, is the fact that power is extremely addictive. That's just true as part of human nature. And one of the things that happens when governments can convince their population that there's some grave external threat or even internal threat that necessitates a posture of militarism and greater government power to protect the population is that political leaders become increasingly unconstrained in the power that they exercise. And this too goes back, that observation is as old as politics itself. Cicero, as part of the Roman Empire, observed that in times of war, the law falls mute, meaning once a government can convince its citizenry to go to war, law and legal constraints, the instruments we use to constrain political leaders, simply no longer matters. And James Madison, the American founder, probably most responsible for the framing of the American Constitution, said that war is the greatest enemy of liberty, the one most to be dreaded, because in times of war, the population not only acquiesces to, but encourages and demands restrictions of political liberty, which is another way of saying increasing government power. And so when you constantly tell a population for over a decade that it faces this grave and significant threat, whatever you want to call it, terrorism, Islamic radicalism, domestic crime, you put the population in a posture of fear. And once they're in a posture of fear, they no longer want to constrain political leaders. And political leaders like that state of affairs, and they become addicted to it. And the more it happens, the more they want it to happen. And you see this with Western leaders as well, who, not because they're consciously malignant in their intentions, but sometimes even because they believe they're benevolent, they believe that they should not be constrained by bothersome concepts of law or democratic accountability or transparency, and they know that keeping the population in a state of fear is the way to convince them not to so constrain them.